Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who sometimes likes to make food metaphors when talking about music. It's a food metaphor that this new album, Sour by Olivia Rodrigo, made me think of. You see, there's this weird contradiction where when I think about my favorite sweet things, my favorite candy, all my favorite candy is sour. Probably the best candy ever created is Sour Patch Kids. This is not a sponsored video. Don't eat them, they're bad for your teeth. But when I think about what makes Sour Patch Kids so good, it is that fact that they aren't just sweet. It's not like a Skittles or a chocolate bar. There's that initial hit that makes you feel slightly uncomfortable, that maybe engages the sort of inner masochist that also likes spicy food. I don't know what it is, but there's really something about that combination of really sour and really sweet. And when I listen to an album like Sour by Olivia Rodrigo, and I think about the fact that she titled it Sour, it made me realize we are in the sweet and sour era of pop music. I think, obviously, the comparisons to Billie Eilish are there for this album. But I think it's not just that we live in a post-Billie Eilish era, where she is the queen of the sweet and sour pop song, but we also are in the era of the post-SoundCloud rappers, rap artists who talk about their emotions. We're really in the post-internet music age. Really, it's about bedrooms. The music you can make alone in your bedroom. It's always going to be sour and sweet. When the pop manufacturing system was more in place, when music was more clearly controlled exclusively by producers and by record labels, it was just sweet, sweet, sweet. If there was anything sour, it felt unreal, inauthentic. We now, fortunately, happily, might be living in the best era possible for pop music because sweet doesn't cut it. These bedroom themes of heartache and sadness and emotional turmoil, the refuge that you feel in your room, is now the primary thing that's being discussed. It's not about going out, it's not about talking with people, it's about being in. Also, I think that one thing that the Rodrigo, I might make that mistake a few times, excuse me. The Olivia Rodrigo album brings to mind is how fortunate we are to have the two sort of queens of pop that we have right now, Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish. When we think about the music that they are capable of making and inspiring, compare that with when I was growing up. If you were a female musician, who did you have in the pop sphere? You had Madonna. I love Madonna, but you can't make music like Madonna. You can't make music like Britney Spears. There's not really anything to emulate. When I was growing up, it was the indie acts, the Tori Amos or the Ani DeFranco. Those were the artists that you could imitate if you were a young woman you were trying to make music. Now that is all completely blown wide open with this great music that is authentic and meaningful and can be created without some kind of Svengali controlling you and telling you what to do. It's not just that it's young women making music and not just young men. That is one thing, right? Because as a father of a daughter, I'm very happy that it's not just new kids on the block and, ooh, what kind of boy will I like, but what kind of girl can I aspire to be, right? It's not just tales of empowerment. I'm a girl, I can do it. It's really that we're entering this phase of complete emotional honesty, like being frank about your vulnerabilities, being frank about your pettiness, being frank about your hurt. And that's really leading to, I hope, a continuation of this renaissance of pop music where it really is a lot more important than it has been before. A lot more, for lack of a better word, art than it was before. Now, I said that, this is great because it can all be done in the bedroom and it's all done by yourself. I must mention that this music is very much directed by its producer as well. Daniel, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I'm just going to go for the name that, the pronunciation that is the least misunderstood, Daniel Nigro, Nigro. If you don't know who this producer is, it is my prediction within a year, maybe within 6 months, he will be up there with Jack Antonoff as one of the great modern pop producers. He may already be there. I only learned about him because of the album that he produced by Conan Gray, which I reviewed last year, which my daughter likes very much. These albums, Conan Gray's album from last year and this album, they are absolute brother and sister. I mean, Daniel Nigro has an approach, the way he uses guitar, the way he produces vocals, a lot of the same themes, a lot of the same dynamics. These albums go so nicely together. I actually hope these two artists tour together because I think it would work really quite nicely. Then there's the sort of mouse in the room as well. How do we accommodate that I'm talking about authenticity and realness and not some kind of corporate machine when Olivia Rodrigo apparently is most famous for being on High School Musical, the TV show, the series. She's apparently most famous for that. It's not a show I've ever seen. And, you know, like, what do we do about that? And according to my small amount of research, this album, which is predominantly about a bad breakup, is allegedly about her breakup with a co-star who has a name that I didn't write down. It's some kind of really Disney name, like Beckett Pluffington, or like Dylan Jups. It's something like that. You can put it in the comments if you know the name of the person. But apparently, he broke up with her to go out with someone else who was also in the show. You know, like, how do I tell you with a straight face, you know, that this is authentic and this is good, when so clearly it feels as though it's just being torn out of the page of just how to manufacture drama for gullible teens, right? Ultimately, this is it. I actually went and I listened to some music by Beckett Pluffington, whatever his name is. Josh? I want to say Josh. I think the first name might be Josh. I don't know the last name. And his music is really good too. Like, he sings really well and he plays piano really well. And I sort of got angry because I'm thinking about Olivia Rodrigo, I'm thinking about Conan Gray, and I'm thinking about Pluffington, and I'm just like, how is it that there's this many painfully attractive young people with this much talent? And it made me realize this whole inauthentic part of whatever it is that the Disney machine can make or the record companies can make, they're putting this effort into people who have talent and a work ethic. Because that's the thing about the whole, you know, like, how is it that Justin Timberlake is so good despite just being a Disney star? It's because he was put to work, right? I mean, he is working as hard as he possibly could be to be the best entertainer he could be. So it seems as though this authenticity really doesn't matter. What matters is that we have these young people who have something to say, and then we just train them like they're Russian Olympic athletes, you know? You will work. Okay, I don't know. I'm doing a German accent for a Russian thing, but you know, like we're forcing them to work, to go basically to boot camp. You know, they're basically like training in Colorado to like get their voice just right and to learn how to sing in different ways and to learn how to play piano. And that's what we end up having with an album like this. So look forward to more of this. Because 20 years ago, these Disney stars that were making music, you know, just farm it out to Max Martin. Max Martin makes a couple beats, and then, you know, you learn how to do that dance where you go like that. You know that dance? Britney would always do that dance like that. I used to practice. I did. I tried to learn how to dance like Britney Spears once. I took an evening, and I thought, how do I do it? I was 20. You know, like, I think that era is going away. And the new pop star that we're getting is just much better. It's based on Taylor. It's based on Billie. It's not based on Britney or Madonna. The whole album, I would say, is interesting because there's two absolute standout songs that are just like mind-blowingly good, like genre-definingly excellent. There's two sort of like faux punk songs, which I think are there to just really emphasize this kind of sour note. When I say sour, I mean like the themes are sort of like dark and a little bit like, not sarcastic, but cynical, like sort of expressing a sort of disillusion, which pop music doesn't always do. That's the main sourness that we see in here. Not just disillusionment with a man, but disillusionment with society, right? But there's these two kind of like faux punk songs, kind of like pop punk songs, which are my least favorite songs on the album, but they're pretty well produced. And then we have the rest of it, which is weird, because the rest of the album, I would say, is, how do I say this in a way that doesn't get people upset? high quality filler. Focus on the high quality part. Because like these songs are with great lyrics, great melodies, but the production is so pared down compared to some of those other tracks that it just sort of feels like they just were trying to pad out this album with more quality, emotionally resonant, well-written songs. So my homework for this album is going to be the big hit. I think if you haven't heard it, you definitely need to hear it. I'll put a link to it up there. The song is Driver's License, which I first learned about in January when my daughter, Goat, came to me and said, "Dad, you have to hear this song. I think this is really good. I think you should review this song." I said, "Well, we'll see if she comes out with an album." And she played the song, and this song is a phenomena for a reason. Driver's License is it's not just a perfect pop song. It's arguably a perfect song, period. It does so many nice things. The whole conceit of getting a driver's license and that your ex-boyfriend and you used to talk about getting excited about it, and now you're driving around by yourself, is such a perfect crystal depiction of what it feels like to be alone and to have these dreams with somebody and to see those dreams dashed, and to have the sounds of a car when you turn it on and it makes those chimes when you haven't put on the seatbelt, bing, 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 bing. It's beautiful. It reminds me a lot of Harry Nilsson and his song One, is the loneliest number. Another great song of loneliness, which he based on the sound of, it used to be when you'd have a phone off the hook, it would go and that was the basis of that. And here we have the basis of put on your seatbelt. The thing that makes the song stand out is that every verse is good, like the verse is filled with these great emotional details. The chorus has her singing, which just does so much. So like that bell sound became a piano, and she has this really great singing voice. It's not just that she can belt, it's that there is a personality to her voice, a personality that you can't recreate. You know, like when I listen to Kensington Buffett, whatever it is, the guy she used to date, when I was listening to his singing, like it was good, but it didn't have like this sort of quality, a certain, I don't know, ineffable quality to it. And it really builds nicely, has these small crescendos, and then drops out for this line, "You said forever, now I drive alone past your street." This line is so good. Now, apparently, according to Genius, the reason the song is popular is because people make TikToks based on this one line, because it's like so sad, it's almost comical. But the thing to really emphasize is that she delivers this line like it's a punchline. "You said forever, now I drive alone past your street." Except the two halves of the lines don't actually connect, right? It's not like driving alone past a street is the opposite of "you said forever." There's something about that, the incongruity of it, right? Like, you said forever, but forever came never, right? Like that might be a sort of typical line you might expect. Or, "You said we'd travel together, but now I drive alone." Instead, it's this, "You said forever, now I drive alone down your street." These lines don't go together, and it's just great. Then we got this bridge, which is like borderline gospel. Like you just get so excited to sing. And a thing my daughter told me today, she was camping, I picked her up from camping, and she's like, "Have you seen the Saturday Night Live sketch?" Now, my daughter inexplicably loves Saturday Night Live. I don't know how. It's not very good a lot of the time, but I'm happy. I grew up with it too. And probably the best Saturday Night Live sketch about music that I have seen in a long time is based on this song. It's in fact based on this bridge, where it's a bunch of men, toxically masculine men, playing pool, and they're getting into fights with each other, and then someone puts this song on, and they all start talking about it, about how they feel in touch with their emotion, about how true it is. And like one guy sort of like starts crying and talking about his ex, and then they all sing the bridge together. And it shows the power of this music, and it's true. It's kind of getting to this whole point I started the whole thing off with, which is that pop music is better. It does help people be in touch with their emotions in a very real way, which you couldn't do with "Hit Me Baby One More Time" or "Toxic," okay? Or even "Like a Prayer," okay? So, I don't know. It's really great. It's a very funny sketch. Now let's get into the rest of the album. I'll go through the rest of the album a little bit quicker. We start off with the track "Brutal." I don't know if everyone is saying this, but there needs to be a lawsuit from the estate of Elvis Costello. It is the exact same chords, the exact same feel, to the song "Pump It Up." to the point where there's a quiet part in the beginning of Brutal. There's a quiet part in the beginning of Pump It Up. Would you like to know how long that quiet part lasts? For Brutal, it's 14 seconds exactly. For Elvis Costello, it is 14 seconds exactly. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. This is the first of the kind of faux punk songs. And one thing I'll say is that the lyrics are great because it's about the lie of youth. That it's great being young. It's not. It sucks being young. It's great being an adult. If you're young out there and you think, how come it's not better being young? It's great. It's great being an adult. It's way better. And the idea of just how brutal it is to be young. And that's what she means by being brutal. And it's just great. If you're out there and you're young and you go, these are supposed to be my glory years, they're not. No matter where you are in your life, it can get better. Yes, than this. And so I'm very happy to have this song. I like the way it's written. My daughter is at the phase of this music, I can tell, where she's figuring out if she likes it or if she likes it enough to buy it. A song like this makes me happy because it's a very meaningful song, which I think will help her out through her life. Cool kind of weird bridge here too, that kind of the production design elements, which sometimes indicate it's something a little bit funky, a little bit off, a little bit of that, I'd say, Billie Eilish inspired sourness. We then have Traitor, which is one of the 47 songs on this album about this breakup, apparently with Josh Floofy. This song is such a well-written song. This is one of those kind of filler tracks I was talking about that's just so good. I mean, it's kind of like piano-led, and it's, you know, just kind of singing here or there. But lyrically, it's all about when you are breaking up with somebody, but you haven't broken up yet, and then that person starts hanging around with someone else, and then they end up getting together after you break up, and you're like, oh, of course they did. This has happened to me several times throughout my life, and it's funny because I now, as an adult, realize I was not being betrayed, like she's saying here. It's just a natural thing that happens when you break up, that other people come into your life, and it's just a weird, natural thing. But the way you talked to her when we were together, I guess you didn't cheat, but you're still a traitor. That's just great. That is exactly a song that needs to exist. It's almost a companion piece to Biz Marquis's Just a Friend. Oh snap, but not quite. Because this is really about gaslighting. It's about the gaslighting that you feel, and it's a subtle emotional point, which as far as I know, does not already have a song to it. Then we get the Driver's License, which I just discussed. Then One Step Forward, Three Steps Back, apparently co-written by Antonoff and Taylor Swift. I couldn't tell, it fits in with the rest so well. And this is another song, another one of these kind of filler songs I'm talking about with an emotional insight, which, I'm sorry, I have to stop pushing my hair back. So if this annoys you, you can just put it in the comments, but it's not staying up there. It's one of these songs that has an emotional insight, which is spectacular. It's all about the way that some people with perhaps masochistic tendencies, who like to eat Sour Patch Kids instead of Skittles, like the way their relationships form and the way that they're mad at the people that they're with, but also, to a certain extent, that they invite that chaos. And I think this is a song very important if you, like me, grew up in a chaotic environment. Sometimes you normalize that chaos, and you associate chaos with love, to the point where you can't disassociate them. This is a song about what happens when you grow up in that chaos, and you then find a partner who reproduces that chaos, and you realizing that you just can't get ahead. So the line, you know, the chorus is, you know, one step forward, three steps back, and it's all about like not being able to predict how your boyfriend or girlfriend is going to react. But these lyrics, maybe I'm so masochistic, maybe in some masochistic way I find it exciting. And then later, I'd leave you, but the roller coaster is all I've ever known. To this, I just say, this is why it gets better when you're an adult. You get to go to therapy, you learn how to disassociate love from chaos, and then things get easier. But I'm very happy that this song exists as well. Nice, simple production, little hint of keyboard, some bird sounds in the back. It's good. Deja Vu. This is actually Goat's favorite song on the album. This is that other track I'm talking about that's just so masterfully produced. These bells back and forth. And it's another emotional thing about a breakup that you haven't heard before. The jealousy that you feel when you know that your partner is doing the same thing with their next lover that they did with you. Nice little details about like eating strawberry ice cream and joking around while wearing a jacket, right? The funny thing is, like I used to feel this way. And there's actually a funny thing where my wife, the woman I'm currently with, I didn't take her to like most of the best restaurants in my town because I associated them with my ex. And when she learned that, she was like, Sky, this town is too small. You can't just, I don't care about this at all. Not even a little bit. This is all on you. I just want to eat good food. So anyways, I sort of thought this way too, but it's actually not how it works. The production on here is just beautiful though, because there's this like instrumental break with this cool like 90s style drum breakdown and this dirty guitar. And her singing is just insane. This is what I'm talking about, these boot camp Disney stars who just like can just do all these things. It's amazing, you know? A couple weird choices here in terms of production, like she says we used to laugh, and in the back he goes ha 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 ha, which is cool and like neat, but I don't know if it's a little bit cheesy. The thing I hate the most about this song is at a certain point she just goes huh, and this is a thing which Taylor does and Ariana Grande does. I hate this, like trying to sound at ease and like conversational. It just doesn't work in a fully produced song. You just can't do it. It sounds inauthentic, whatever. She also references Billy Joel several times, and viewers of this channel hopefully know that I have a serious problem with Billy Joel. But I'm actually going to be addressing that in a Patreon video very soon about music that I dislike and why. And basically always, whenever I dislike music, the problem is me. When will you tell her that you did that with me, the strawberry ice cream? It's just really great. All feels very real, real expert imitation of reality. Oh, sounds like Toby's coming down the stairs. Toby, you coming down the stairs, Toby? Okay, it's my dog. Next track is called Good For You, another one of these kind of fake pop songs. This is a kind of a very bitter post-breakup song. She kind of goes between mournful and bitter. It's kind of an electro, like punk style sound, kind of hip hop style verse. She's sort of trying to sound tough. I don't know if it works, but it's okay. Next track, Enough For You. Again, more of this interesting, well-done filler songs about this breakup. The guitar and the singing, great strength of her voice, like range and strength. Sometimes when people have a lot of range, they don't have a lot of strength in the higher registers. She does. Maybe a bit too much at the end of the song. My daughter mentioned that the way she says the word you is just weird. You! Which I think is probably true. And this is maybe tied in, boy, the dogs are just going back and forth. Maybe this ties in nicely to a previous song where she's talking about this guy and about how the roller coaster, she's also trying really hard to appeal to him, that all she ever wanted was to be in love with him, to be good enough for him. Very good themes about feeling not good enough. A lot of this album, I think, is about feeling not good enough, which I think is kind of tied into that previous feeling I was talking about. I swear, what are these dogs doing? What? Hey, is something going on with the dogs? Is that you, Bo? I'm not going to redo the video, boys. Okay. Jeez. Sorry about that. Okay, now they're coming over here to sit by the thing. But no, Bo has this crazy collar on, so he's going to knock over the tripod. Okay. Okay, good. All right, you can come up there, Toby. You're only frustrating my viewers. Okay. But it's a good song, this Enough For You. I really love this idea of feeling not good enough, of trying so hard. And then she has sort of the line that might end up being the thesis of the entire album. Someday I will be everything for somebody else, which is a really good line there. Sorry, I'm so distracted by the dogs. The next track is called Happy. My wife tells me that people like the dogs, so at the end of the video, I'll show you them. Synthesizer, like, kind of introduces a piano, kind of a simple 50s box chord style, like bum ba bum 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 bum. She's moving on from her ex-boyfriend, but she doesn't want him to be happier than he was with her. Very much this pettiness, this sort of like being openly petty that is all throughout the album. That's a great track, but again, it's this kind of paint by numbers thing that the Rodrigo album does, and it's paint by numbers, but the final product is emotionally interesting and well produced. The next track is called Jealousy, Jealousy. Another one about society and not about her. This is kind of a nice kind of thumpy song with cool kind of bass lead. And this is another one of these things that's about society in general, about social media, making you feel not good enough. And this is something I like to say. As a Generation Xer who thinks that millennials and Generation Z just need to get over themselves and all that horse hockey, there needs to be more songs like this. There needs to be more songs about the way that social media hurts people, about the way that it messes up with your brain. As far as I'm concerned, every pop album for the next 10 years could have 3 songs about this topic, and it wouldn't be enough, because this is what our young people are going through, and I don't care if they're not the greatest generation fighting the Nazis, okay? There's no goddamn Nazis, except for the Nazis in our country, but that's a whole nother thing. There's no war to go to, so stop talking about the greatest generation. You dinosaurs, yes, they have to deal with social media. So show them compassion and appreciate that there's people trying to fight it. I'm sorry, I watched Bill Maher the other week, and that's just a bad idea. Like, he's such an asshole. Okay, I said that quietly enough. I don't think I need to say there's bad language on this video. And I didn't swear at the dogs, which is good. But it's a good song. I really specifically like the way she uses the line, "Jealousy started following me." You know, so this great idea that, like, jealousy itself is something that is following her on social media. It's a really funny idea. It also reminds me, she's talking about how other people's beauty doesn't make her ugly. I'm a parent, and a line I came up with when I was a younger parent was, "Someone else's shine doesn't make you dull." And it's kind of in that theme. Favorite Crime is the next song, kind of a lo-fi song. A nice sort of like country music setup where the crime is breaking her heart and she's an accomplice to it. It's okay, but I'm at this point I was kind of done with this breakup stuff. And then we end with Hope You're Okay, which is just sort of a kind of a gritty song to end it. A little bit more of that sour taste. Lyrically, it's very uplifting. Is it about homophobia? I can't tell. It's like her being proud of friends who were mistreated as children by their parents. I don't know, parents who cared more about the Bible than raising their child. I like rhyming Bible and child. I'm not quite sure. She talks about how proud she is of these people. I don't know if that's patronizing or not. And then the song ends with these kind of beeps, which remind me of driver's license. So there you go. I'm going to tell you a story about my favorite sour candy. Well, first I'm going to show you the dogs. Okay, just so you know. There's Bo. He had his tail cut off in a screen door. You see that right there? And he just keeps chewing on his tail, so he has to have a collar and 2 donuts. Don't you, Bo? There's Toby back there. He's in good shape. I'm going to tell you about, while I show you my Patreon. So I have a Patreon, and I don't use that Patreon money to like buy food. I use it to buy music. So these are my Patreons. I'll read off their first names: Matthew, Michelle, Andrew, Blair, Dred, Gammon, Joshua, Kiru, Luca, Mitras, Squeme, and Elijah. Just joined up yesterday, so thank you very much. I'll tell you a story about my favorite sour candy. It came out in the early 90s, and it was affiliated with the movie Terminator 2. They were called Terminator 2 Sour Meltdowns. They came in like this little like tin kind of thing, a plastic tin, kind of like mints coming now. And they were so sour, they felt as though they burned a hole straight through your tongue. And then they became insanely sweet. I don't know why they didn't make them for any other property, but I would eat them so much that I couldn't taste anything. Like, for an entire summer, I just couldn't taste anything because I loved that sweet and sour meltdown. Now, I just have Sour Patch Kids. All right, in that case, for all my Patreons and for my lovely dogs, you see, remember how you were mad earlier in the video that the dogs were making so much noise? And then you saw that this was the dog that did it? Look at those eyes. See, can't get angry at those eyes. All right. Here's the camera.